Well, hello, hello, hello. Listen, this is Maxine Pearl Phillips McCoy, your show host for this evening on the Life Strategy Show. I am so excited to be back here again this week to share with you some platinum nuggets. Remember, they're all platinum nuggets that we drop here. So I want you to take a moment, go on, share, let everyone know that we're on, bring them on with you so they can have a conversation and join in this evening. I have a phenomenal guest with me. But I want to give you just a little bit of background about Levelist. What is Levelist? What is Levelist all about? You hear this word Levelist, and where did it even come from? Well, Gams Unlimited is the parent company's name, and Unlimited is what? Infinity. It never ends. So one day I happened to be talking to a guy who knows me inside and out, and he was just saying, Maxine, everything you do is levelless. And I'm like, you're right. That's it. That's the word I'm looking for. And guess what? This was during the pandemic. And so, what better way than to launch Levelless? And Levelless is all about knowing your worth, advocating for yourself, and succeeding on your terms because you have defined what success is for you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this evening I have an individual with me that she has defined success for herself. And not only has she defined it, but she is levelless because there are no levels. She continues to succeed and succeed and succeed on her terms. And not only that, she brings others along with her. So that's what this platform is all about, is bringing individuals on who's willing and ready to share what their innate abilities are, the strategies that they have put in place that have gotten them to where they are today. So my guest this evening, and I see Elizabeth is watching again. Thank you, Elizabeth, for chiming in. My guest this evening is Kimberly Calhoun. Kimberly is the co-host of the IBM TV network. Listen, she is phenomenal. She is a serial, we call it passionpreneur. She is an inventor. She's a patent designer. She's an engineer. And she also devotes time and attention to when it comes to technology and science. She is one of the individuals who you found, how we used to have to pay our telephone bill by the minute, but instead now we pay a flat rate. Kimberly is the inventor behind that mindset. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Kimberly Calhoun. Come on down. Come on down. Come on down.
Maxine, I want to hug you.
I know. Listen, I met you about 5 or 6 years ago, and I feel like I've been stalking you ever since. Because you made such an impression that night that I met you at a networking event, with City Insight.
Wow, yes.
Yes.
And that's how you really get to meet people, is to get out there and network, right?
Yes.
Because, who would have thought we would have met then and then re-collaborate here?
Love it. And there's a workshop that I do is say, make every connection count. And that's exactly what we need to do. And a connection is not just connect with the person, but start building relationships. Find out how you can help that person. But I've been keeping up with you, lady. Let me tell you, I've been watching you and all the things that you've been doing and all the TV shows that you're hosting and all the speaking engagements that you're on as well. So I appreciate you taking a moment to be with me this evening and sharing these platinum nuggets that you're going to share.
Well, I'm just honored to be here because actually I'm a big fan of yours. I don't get to watch you very often, but Mark keeps me up to date of what everyone is doing because I do travel a lot and it's hard to watch shows. I'm trying to get our network on the airlines. So when I'm flying, I can watch us or just get my own airlines next.
I understand that.
Why stop there, right? If anyone
the sky is not the limit. The sky is not the limit.
Levelless.
Levelless. That's right.
you know, you can't stop thinking about where your limits are, right? You've
Right.
got to sit there and think, I've got this situation and this is where I want to be. And what am I going to do to get there? And you did the same thing in doing this show, getting out there and meeting people, networking, and, just sharing your life and experiences with everyone so that it can inspire others that, hey, we don't have to give up. We can keep going. We all have these situations and we can get past them and grow and prosper. And, it's a conversation we were just having a few minutes ago before this started. We don't want to retire.
No,
we think we do. We don't.
I know.
So when you set your goals, don't even put retire in there.
No, and the thing about it is that I do work with post-retirees and then retirees, because when they're thinking about it, retiring, Kimberly, I'm like, well, what are you going to do? What you going to do after you retire? I'm like, why do I want to do anything? That's why I'm retiring. I'm like, no, you still have a purpose. I'm sure you have some passions and I'm sure that you can mentor other people. So I don't even let the individuals that I'm coaching retire either. They just don't realize it. They just keep working and working and working, but they're working in the area that they're passionate about. And I love the fact that on your LinkedIn profile, it states that, that's one of the things you do talk about, life and passion and purpose. I'm like, yeah, that's my lady. That's my lady. Those are the kind of people I enjoy following, because when you understand who you are from your core and you're passionate about it, wow, you just keep going and going and going. So tell me, or help me to understand, when did you discover that you had this passion for engineering?
I'm going to have to be a little honest here. I loved numbers. I was a bookkeeper through high school and numbers made sense to me. But truly, I was chasing a boy.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
He encouraged me to go to college. I didn't think that I had the financial ability, but he, showed me the way. And he was studying engineering. And when I graduated we met when I was in high school. And when I graduated from high school, I saw this article in the newspaper about people who graduate from college and their earnings. Ooh, okay. And I was looking at this because, everybody was pushing me to be, accounting, because I was doing bookkeeping through high school. And I looked at this really strange number, and it was what they were earning when they got out of college. And accountants, made pretty good money, probably around $40,000 a year. Engineers, $60,000 to $80,000 a year. Now we go to school for the same amount of time, right, invest the same amount of money. And it was all numbers to me. I used to read his books, right? So I told him, I said, you know what? I'm going to go into engineering. And he encouraged me. He helped me. He helped me go buy my books, register. So I was chasing a boy. It was passion for the boy.
Hey, passion was in there, right? But the thing about it, although it was a boy that you were chasing, but look at what you captured.
Yes, I know, right? Yeah. But he always encouraged that. I ended up marrying him. So I didn't just...
I was hoping you were going to get to that part. That's another, when I say capture, look at what you captured. Not only did you capture him and his heart, but look at all the other abilities and accolades and achievements. And we'll talk about in just a moment. That is phenomenal.
It's when you're with someone that you are comfortable with, you trust, you have a big passion for them as well. And he encouraged so much in me to go and do these things. He never hindered my ability to go out and just be as much as I can be. And I think that was very important, because as a woman back in those days, and we're talking, early 80s, that it was still difficult. I was the only female in most of my classes when I first started. And it was just interesting to see this change, right? the engineering field was actually women were starting to come in and starting to work in this industry. And so it was new to them too, right? It was
Right.
all new to the men as much as it was to the women. But, I'm glad that I did it. Was it challenging? Yes. Was there a lot of disappointments? Yes. Would I have encouraged someone else earlier in my life to do something like that? Sometimes I would say, you know what, go find an easier path because this was really hard. But honestly, I wouldn't change anything. Everything I did, I either it was a good enough challenge that I could succeed and move forward. A learning experience. Always take the gain. Don't take the negative with you, right? A lot of negative is going to happen. But when you walk away from that situation or whatever it is, walk away with the gain and you'll see a different light. So
Love it. Love it. Ladies and gentlemen, did you hear that? That was a platinum nugget. Walk away with the gain. Don't take negative baggage. Don't bring negative baggage with you. Leave it in, leave it, leave it, leave it. That's the whole purpose of you moving forward. It's called forward momentum. And that's what, Kimberly is talking about right here. So Kimberly, I know that you have these patents and you have all of these designs and the things that you put in place in the world, not just here, but in the world. So I have a telecommunication background as well. I have over 20, 25, 30 years in telecommunications. I love the fact that you changed the playing field. I love it. A woman changed the playing field in telecommunications. And I'm talking about where we used to be billed for minutes when we talked on the telephone. We used to call it long distance. I think that's the term that we used to use. But you put forth a flat rate. So you changed the playing field. So tell me, how did you even come about that idea?
Well, so first off, local wasn't always flat rate either, even
Okay.
though we thought it was, and it was very expensive, and it was very difficult. And I was not aware of this, but it was very difficult for a lot of people just to get a local phone, and that was very disturbing to me. I had spent many, many years developing and building the telecom equipment. I understand it inside and out, upside down, left and right. There's not much I don't know, and what I don't know, I know who to call.
Right.
But I was recovering from a very rare surgery in my spine and had to be incapacitated for a while. And my dad liked to challenge me, and he came in and he says, "I bet you can't start a telephone company." Now here I am, I can't even move my arms and legs. And my husband brought home a computer that I controlled with my voice. And I'm laying there and I'm going, really, you're going to throw this at me?
Wow.
Are you saying this because I'm a woman? So we got to talking about it, and I went and found a story that just disturbed me here in North Carolina in a little town called Yanceyville. And it was the most horrifying tragedy in that town. A family was attacked while the parents left, and the kids, it was, well, I'm not going to go there, right. But it was sad. And the reason why the perpetrator picked this family was because they could not afford a phone.
Ooh.
So he knew they couldn't call for help. Well, that was it for me. What do you mean people can't get a phone, right? It just infuriated me. And I realized the rates were very expensive. I looked at my phone bill one day. Here I build these network switches, but I never really paid attention. I just paid the bills and move on. So I've looked at why can't they get a phone? Well, you had to have credit. You had to have, an address. I mean, all of these things. You had to have, 2 months down payment. If it was horrible. So my dad gave me this idea, but it took more, you had to go own a phone company, right? You couldn't just go, okay, let's do this. So I went and researched what it would take to start a phone company, how to get my licenses and everything. And when I could get up and move again, which was very difficult, I went and applied for my first license. And that meant standing in front of the PUC to get it. And I not only changed the platform of how people could buy phones, I made it so that people who could not afford them could get them.
Come
Like,
on
we didn't
now.
ask for the
Come
heavy
on.
deposits and everything like that. But I also was instrumental in changing the laws and how you apply for phones, because they had this, hey, Nick,
Yeah.
they had these weird policies in place, right, that hindered small telephone companies from even coming into the market. Like, you had to apply for your local license and then a long distance license, but it was the same amount of the same, like half of it was the same stuff, right? So I asked the PUC just off the top, why can't we merge these two together and apply? And they go, well, that's a pretty smart idea.
They never thought of it.
Well, here people are applying for their licenses for years and years and years. And then Bell South tried to stop me. They sent all of their attorneys there trying to fight little old me from getting my license. And there were people there other companies trying to get their license that had been trying for a year or so. I just went in. I did my homework. I understood the technology better than the 6 attorneys sitting over there fighting me. And so I knew what questions to ask. I knew how to, say things technically that they didn't understand. I wasn't trying to trick them. I just knew that they wouldn't know it. And I won my licenses in 30 days. Well, 90 days from application.
Okay.
But they literally came out of their seats, came down and shook my hand, offered me a position at the PUC, because I was bringing out problems with their policies. They didn't make sense. And I put Bell South in their place. I'm like, no, you're absolutely wrong. That's not how this works. But nobody had ever done that before because they didn't know. And so we were able to then know that we could get phone service for people who never could afford it before. So, yeah.
Talking about pioneer. Talking about pioneer, that's exactly what you did. And I love the fact that you said you did your research. Bing, bing, platinum nugget. Do your research. Then you say you had to stand in front of the PUC, Public Utility Commission. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's what that stands for.
Yep.
And so you had to literally stand in front of them to defend what you were presenting to them.
Exactly.
Loving it. And then afterwards, they walk and shake your hand, because you brought forth an idea. You brought forth a thought that you had been working on, and you brought forth the confidence in order to lay it before them. Hello, everybody. These are platinum nuggets we're putting before you. So this is what it takes as you're moving forward to deliver. A lot of time they say pitch. You might be pitching your business, and that's basically what you were doing. What were you getting ready to say?
Well, what I was going to say is, don't discredit your abilities to do things. They made people believe that they had to have attorneys do all of this for them.
Right.
But I didn't use an attorney. I did everything myself because I did my homework. I did my research, and I didn't have to rely on an attorney to make sure it got done. And I think that's why some of the small companies were there waiting for a year or two, where I was able to do it in less than 90-day period. We had our licenses. We were able to run cell phone service. But don't discredit and because of my homework and research, I could, like you said, stand in front of them with confidence and say, this is how it is. And it's amazing. But when you start relying on somebody else to do all of that work for you,
right,
it's just, they don't have your passion. They don't have this. They can't present it the way you can. So it's better to present yourself.
I love it. So what you just shared, Kimberly, is the fact that many of us have ideas that are dropped into our spirit. You happen to be challenged by your father, but there are many times you don't have to be challenged. Things are just brought to you within your spirit. Don't overlook them. Don't ignore them. Write them down. Start doing the research. Look at what does it take in order for you to put certain things in place. Think about what is happening now with COVID. Look at all the entrepreneurs that's just, putting forth business ideas and they're working. It's working. It's absolutely working. Yes, they are doing their homework. Yes, they are getting in front of different people, not necessarily
Yes.
the PUC, but we have to get in front of people like what we're doing tonight is sharing platinum nuggets. And the whole purpose of this show, and Kimberly, I thank you for, first of all, being the co-founder, and Nick, thank you so much, for the fact that you are allowing us to come on and have a part of this platform to share with individuals who are stuck.
Yes,
They're literally
exactly.
stuck. You have these ideas out here, people. Don't sit on them. I often hear
No,
people tell me, Kimberly, I don't have any money. You know what I tell them? You just told me about 2 ideas that you have. What are you going to do with them? That is your money. That's your gold mine.
I had no money when I started the phone company. I had no money. I went from the PUC. I got interconnection agreements with every phone company out there so that I can interconnect with them. And I just started word of mouth and selling via small advertising, whatever I could pull together. But we didn't have the money to do this. But over time, as I built the business, and it was hard. Don't think it wasn't. I mean, I had to get creative on how did we, because now I got this company, I got a commitment, we got orders coming in, but we got to be able to send those orders to the telephone company to interconnect. And this whole world had to be established. And I learned how to do it. Then I trained people how to do it. So I learned everything so that I knew how to, how it was going to have to work, what they were going to have to go through. And then I put together the tools to make their job easier, brought on board some pretty phenomenal people that, stood by us. That was another important thing, was the team. My dad was always there, but he's a very brilliant mind. But you've got to have that team. You got to get in there, but don't worry about the money. All right. I mean, just get your proof of concept going and slowly start building it. Eventually it comes. When the money started coming before long, I could go and raise money to build bigger and better, right?
Yes.
And raised about 134 million. So, I mean, but people, I'm going to tell you, just because I raised 134 million doesn't mean I made 134 million.
That's almost like gross and then net.
Well, this is what I tell people. When you raise money, that money's already spent.
Yeah.
All right. That's not money to go in your pocket and go do whatever you want and pay yourself. That money, you tell somebody, this is the use of funds. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to build. And eventually you got to pay them back. Yeah. So, I mean, everybody goes, wow, no.
Yes.
That's not how it goes. But it's good to feel and honored to feel that somebody believed in me and my company enough to say, yeah, I'm willing to put that kind of money into you. So, but you got to start small, people. I didn't just, and I put a lot of work. I was like you, Maxine, I'm raising a family, a lot of issues going on, still trying to recover from my surgery and learn how to walk. And I still couldn't use my right arm at the time that I was getting the applications. I still liked the use of my right arm at that time. So it was very challenging just in those aspects alone. But don't make money your only concern. There's nothing more aggravating than when I sit in a Shark Tank or a fun program, and the first words out of the person is all I need is money.
Right.
Let's try to reword that a little bit, and go from there, because that's not how I raised 134 million. I didn't raise it with that kind of question. In fact, I told the guy, I'm not your kind of investment. I was there for someone else, and I was helping someone else raise money because I knew this, and we weren't really, we had the business plan together for what we wanted to do, but I knew he didn't invest in our kind of stuff. So he goes, Cam, I like what you just pitched here for this guy, and that's great, but I hear you got something. And I go, Yeah, but his attorney goes, but we don't invest in her kind of business. And I go, he's right. And he goes, well, no, I want to hear it. You got 7 minutes. And I asked one question. I just asked one question, and he couldn't answer it, and I answered it for him. And next thing I know, I have the offer letter. So and the thing is, I didn't have my pitch deck with me, right? But what I did have is I had built it. I didn't have a pitch deck. Back then you didn't need one. You just had a business plan. I had a 40-page business plan, which is something nobody does anymore. I knew inside and out what we needed to do, where, any troubles could be, I had everything in place, right down to the different manufacturers. I had a backup plan to the backup plan. It was all in 40 pages, and nobody does that anymore. But because I had wrote it, I designed it, I infrastructured it, I was able to do this when he asked questions. I didn't need it in front of me. And so it was amazing that all I did was ask one question.
I'm loving it. I'm loving this, right? When you can ask that one question and they cannot answer it, and then you turn around and answer it for them, but not in a way, an authority way, an expert way, but not to shoot them down.
Not to shoot them down. It was more of a why not question.
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
That's all it was. It was a why not? Why don't you invest in this? And I answered to him why it is the number one industry to him. I answered it for him very simply, and he was so blown away that I was so calm and confident, but I wasn't begging for money. I was not begging for money. What he asked me is how much will it take? And I said 134 million. Mm-hmm. He didn't bat an eye, but I didn't ask. Right at that point, he was asking me. So there's ways you can do things and pitch things, but I think the problem today is we all watch Shark Tank so much that we're prepared to throw the ask out there before we're prepared to say what the benefit is. And, I think that's the problem with today's industry, right? Is we're not really focused on what we really have and what we're doing. We're too in a hurry to do that elevator pitch, which I hate. Don't throw an elevator pitch at me, please. Don't. Yeah. I know that's not who I am.
I know they tell me all the time, because I say, well, I'm not a salesperson. They say, well, Maxine, but you're an entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur, you need to be a salesperson. I say, well, I'm not that direct salesperson. I am more about what can I do to help you to get where you're going. And in the meantime, if you want to know what my fees are, here are my fees.
There you go.
Right. But it's not about, well, here are my fees.
No, it's about that conversation, right? Yes. And how can I help you? I was an engineer for a long time and helped build I was one of the lead engineers and helped build the first North Carolina Information Network highway. So it was the first broadband network in the United States. After that, I went into sales because I thought that's where the money is, right?
Right.
I really wasn't happy there. I was a sales engineer, but I was over 12 states, and then I had government contracts and stuff like this. But I learned a lot in sales, right? And I learned a lot of how to work with the client at a different level. But I was successful in taking $0 territories and turning them into $3 million in a very short period of time. Because I'm going to tell you what, when you're in sales, they crack that whip all the time. Let me tell you.
It's numbers. I'm talking about you were a numbers person before. You really had to be a numbers person when you're in sales.
I hated it. And it's not that I hated the challenge. I hated the desperation. And I think that's the word I was looking for earlier. Don't come across desperate. Know who you are, what you have, and be confident with it. But be confident that if you don't get this door, you'll get another one.
Come on, wait. You need to say that again. You need to say that. Listen, these are platinum nuggets. Are you all catching them? I mean, I have written about 10 or 15 of them since you just been talking, Kimberly. I'm trusting that someone is going to be able to quote some of these back to me at the end of the show. But say that again, because many times people think it's about money. And money is a short-term satisfier. You get it today and it's already spent. So then what are you going to do? So
That's
say those
right.
nuggets again.
So that don't. So the thing is that when you're out there and you think you got to have something, don't get all upset or disturbed over a door closing on you. Okay, that was just a door. Try to turn it around and ask a question. Is there something I could do better for you? Can I ever come back? Can I ask you for help? Can you refer someone? But don't. And now I'm not repeating because I can never repeat what I
got
said.
that. No, we got it. We got
I,
it.
I would stink as an actor. So, but when that door closes, just move on to the next. Okay. Don't make it like it's the end all. Don't be so desperate, and just say, okay, and be confident to say, okay, thank you, and move on. And, you will find something. If anything, you'll find support from that person. But one thing I learned, and Nick knows this too, in sales, it takes about 100 knocks on a door just to find somebody to open a door. And then it takes about 100 more of those before you get a maybe. Okay. And this is what I tell people. Everything we see in a success story out there is just the cover of the book. Every one of those people have a journey to tell, and it wasn't overnight success. It wasn't. And so everybody thinks like this Shark Tank theory, I'm going to get up there, I'm going to pitch, and I'm going to get the money. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. You've got to have the confidence in yourself to even say no, right? Don't be so desperate that you have to take that money.
A no
it might be the wrong money is worse than no money.
Come on.
Wrong money is worse than no money because they can put you into a spot that you can't get out of and you lose everything you worked hard for.
And not only that, it can damage your character. It can damage your brand. You think that is a client for you. But when you start really diving deep into it, it's like, I just made a mistake. And how are you going to overcome? How are you going to remove yourself from that mistake that you just made? Where if you accept the no, that no is really not yet. Because it's someone else on the other side that's waiting on you that they need your service and it's a perfect fit. So
and don't be so desperate to land a sale that you'll do anything for it either. Like that might cost you more money than the sale was worth. I mean, there's nothing worse than having a client that really wasn't your fit to begin with. So don't be afraid to say, you know what? Especially if you're in a sales situation, I just don't think I could really offer you what you need. Do you know, because I could say that to some very high paying clients, they always knocked on my door first.
That's
serious.
That's what you want. You want people to look for you, opposed to you looking for clients. Clients should be looking for you. Kimberly, you said something earlier. You said word of mouth. That is your best advertisement.
It is.
Word of mouth. Once you show someone who you are, what you do, and what you're capable of doing, and you're a person of your word with quality. Notice I said that with quality, because some people can be a person of their word, but then they have do something. So always have a standard of excellence about whatever it is that you've chosen to do, and keep your word, because your brand is you and you are your brand. So it all goes together. You cannot separate the two. I'm loving this. I am loving this.
Word of mouth. I want to kind of weigh a little bit on that, because what you say is very important, right? Keep your word as well. But when you do, and people see that, our return on investment for our advertising, because we would send out small ads at a time, were bigger than what we ever imagined. We were getting back more than 100% return. Wow. And the reason was because of word of mouth. Everybody would get the flyer and share it. And we would give rewards for that. So we would reward people but we were probably the only phone company, because I had a very strong policy of good customer service, and I gave a threshold to them to quickly resolve problems. And not having to worry about some of the things that other companies have, like long distance rates and billables. We didn't ever have to fight those battles, right? Our billing was easy and everything. But our customer service department would get thank you cards from our clients. Have you ever sent a thank you card to your telephone company?
No, not in, I'm sitting here. You saw my mouth drop, right? And I told you I was with the telephone company, but I started out in directory assistance.
Oh, goodness.
411. So you already know.
411. I know 411 very well.
I was like, but that is awesome that they wrote you thank yous. That's beautiful.
Our customer service department, I loved opening them because I tried to be wherever our customer service department was as often as possible. And but I would open up the mail, and those thank you cards would just melt my heart because I'm like, I would never send one to my phone company. So, it was just felt good to know that we were helping people. But our customer service department would go above and beyond, and it didn't cost us anything extra. What it did was gain us more customers, because next thing I know, I would be, seeing, hey, so-and-so referred me on our form, right?
Uh-huh.
And we would get all of these, Julia, whatever, referred me. She said, you guys are great. We worked with them. We didn't just cut them off. I had a rule of not cutting a client off to work with them. And, we were small. We could do that, right?
You were in control. You controlled it. And so you control what I call the customer culture, customer focus, customer oriented. I have a workshop that's called 5-star customer service imperatives that I take into organizations, and I help them do exactly what you're talking about that you all did. I'm absolutely loving it. You saw my face light up, right?
I know. You're like,
yes. This is what customer service is all about. And it'd be nice for me to come in and work with your organization, but it's just common courtesy.
It is. It is, do unto others. That was the rule I had. Just treat everyone the way you want to be treated. I tried to, we were small, so we didn't make a lot of money. The whole idea was to be able to employ as many people as we could locally. And, but the idea was to make everyone happy at work. Right. Yeah. And if I would find somebody not happy at work, I would try to figure it out, and I would never fire anybody over those kind of issues. The idea was, if they're happy, then your customers are happy, and then the money's coming in, and then they're happy again. Right. So you got this little cycle. As a leader, you got to make sure you got to conduct all of this. But it was all about being positive. But I always told everyone, we all have bad days. So sometimes you're going to get somebody calling in here. They're not going to be happy. Just remember, sometimes you have a bad day too, but I'm never going to be angry if it didn't work out. Route it up to me at the end of the day, route it up to me. I'll deal with it. And, but what we learned by setting thresholds of what our customer service department can handle, right? Like I would say, you got a $25 threshold with this kind of problem.
Right.
Don't argue. Don't do this. Don't do that. Just solve it. And move on, because that's money. Time is money. But what I find today is so disappointing is you don't see good customer service anymore. Anywhere. I called somewhere, had an appliance for 3 years. It completely died. An appliance for 3 years, a bit major appliance. Right. And I called the guy, and he goes, well, what do you expect? It's 3 years old. And I'm like, I got a refrigerator in my garage that's 40 years old, still making ice and kicking it. I expect it to be working.
Right, exactly.
But to be talked to that way was horrible. I mean, it's bad enough I lost all the food in my new refrigerator, and now I'm being talked down to. I mean, so you don't see this anymore. And, and it's because of that, I won't buy that brand of appliance ever again, ever.
And so what you just shared, you shared how you can how companies can damage their brand, through that customer service, through not paying attention to your customer. When I say customer focused, that's what I'm talking about. They must pay attention to what the customer is asking for, what the customer's expectations are, because after all, the customers are the ones who buy your services, your
That's right.
appliances, your products, your books, whatever it is, your customers are the ones that's going to have to purchase them. And you talked about knowing how to take, or no, I love the fact that what you said, you empowered your employees.
Mhm.
You gave them thresholds in which they can work within,
Right.
opposed to having to come to you every time and say, "Can I do this?" Or this customer's complaining about this, so that's that. So what I'm hearing you say, put processes in place, put systems in place, empower your employees to make those decisions. So when they encounter these first level or second level complaints, they're able to resolve them right on the spot.
Well, Maxine, think about how much money you waste when your customer service is sitting there arguing with someone, or you just lost the deal, or just think about all of those things and how stressless it will be if you just. But what I find is a lot of owners, a lot of CEOs, they don't even know their processes. None of them have ever even called their own customer service department to see what it takes to get in and have a problem and get it fixed. There's no way they have, because if they did, it would be improved. Right. So I would do that. I'm not testing my own employees, but I would just test the system. How easy is it for my employees to use to begin with, right? I even took and rebuilt a complete customer service CSR system from ground up, just so it was easier for them to work with, and it integrated with our billing department, and we didn't have to do a lot of work. So not reducing employees, but just making life easier. And that nobody does this anymore. Everybody just thinks about the dollar, the end dollar, the sale, and it's got to change eventually, I would hope.
Right.
So, what are your thoughts in that area?
But the other thing that I just heard you say is that not only are you empowering your employees to make decisions on the spot when they have customers who, need to move on, but you also talked about the need to have that employee to, when they're making the decision, they don't have to bring it to you, but you also have to empower them to stay with the organization. Mm-hmm. They're not wanting to jump ship. Because what companies and leaders don't understand, they always say an employee does not leave a company, they leave a manager, or they leave the leader. And that is true, because many times the leaders are not paying attention to them. They're not empowering them. They're delegating, and then they're dictating. Well, if you allow an employee to use their empowerment, then you have employees who want to be there with you, and the turnover rate goes down, not up.
You're right. And it's the turnover rate that costs you money, not just your turnover rate of employees, because that training employees and everything over and over, it's your credibility, right? So like if I'm a client, and I mean, in a phone company, it'd be kind of hard to do, but if I can call in and talk to the same person, have the same team to kind of work on my issues, it's just going to make my life easier. I mean, I just hired a company recently, and that's one reason why I hired them, right? Is their whole chain of command, how long the people have been there. I mean, that was my big question when I talked to the people. And then they have this little chain of command of who I can call based on what I need done. They routinely have meetings with me to make sure I'm happy about things. And it's not really a big deal what I hired them for, right? But now it's not a big deal at all, right? I don't have to worry about, what if an emergency happens and somebody doesn't answer the phone? They always answer the phone. It wasn't about answering the phone for the sale. It was about answering the phone when I need them. Right. And, that's some of the things that I don't see happening today, because again, they consider that money out, not money back in. And
I know. When I take my car to the dealership, I ask who's going to be working on my car. And I want the same person working on my car each time I bring it in. So I want to know, are they available to work on the car? And they always look at me and I'm like, the reason why I want the same person is because that person gets to know my car.
That's
And
right.
if I bring it in and I might miss mentioning something, but because they know my car, they're going to recognize something is not right, even when they drive it or they're looking for things, so you're so right about having that chain of command and being able to talk to the same person, and that person gets to know you. And guess what, Kimberly? They're building a relationship.
Exactly. And they know what makes me happy, what doesn't make me happy. Um, they're able to build on my situation. When there's an emergency, they'll catch the red flag. And I love how you mentioned that you like the same mechanic, because I hired the same mechanic, not within the car dealership, but outside, and had the same mechanic for years until he retired. And I'm heartbroken, but he knew everything about my car, including one day he said, "It's possessed. It has a ghost. You have to get rid of it."
Time to get rid of it.
Time to get rid of it. Because he knew how much I loved it. But he goes,
but you can take his advice because he's been working on it so long. He knows
forever
as well as you do.
So when he throws in the towel, I know it's time to get a new car. Not because the dealership is, I trusted him, and he took care of not just all my cars, but if my sister needed her car fixed, she would. So the family always brought their cars in too. So I kind of miss that. I haven't had a good mechanic in a very long time, but they're hard to find. And when you do, it's like you said, when you find that one that you like to go to, they can also help you save money too, right? Like they're not just going to be troubleshooting 100 different things and then come to you and say this, and they already know. They know what they've replaced in that car, even if there's records there. They know if they dropped a screw somewhere and lost. I mean, it's just stupid little things like that. So
that is so true. So as I hear you talk, Kimberly, you remind me of a book that I read. It's called Breaking All the Rules, What Great Managers Do Best. Oh my, you love it too? You love it too?
No, I haven't read it yet, but it's funny you would say that.
Oh my goodness. You're breaking all the rules. And I love it. I love it because that's what great managers do. That's what great leaders do. You look for opportunities to be able to empower your people, to move your people, to promote your people, and I'm hearing you talk about the consistency. I am loving it. And, that's what I tell managers when I'm doing the coaching of executives and everything. It's okay to break the rules. Because, think about the school system. When they acknowledge the teacher of the year, it never fails. The teacher of the year broke all the rules.
I know.
But they broke the rules in order to help the children learn and do better. And that's what great leaders do as well. It is your vision. Don't get me wrong. But it's going to take your employees to move that vision forward in your organization. You can't do it alone. You can't do it by yourself. So what are your thoughts with that?
I'm going to read the book because it's the second time I've heard this book this week. So I'm going to write this down and get this book. But it's funny you say that because I don't follow the rules very well. I'm not employable either. I am very unemployable. Once your mind has been bent, it's hard to pull it back. And I'm not the one who said this. Oliver Wendell Holmes said it. So, but once the mind has been expanded as far as it can go, you just can't pull it back. So, but you're going to have to break the rules. But hear me out on this. And, this working in the telecom industry, being around the technology, being around science and technology, man defines certain things, right, when they discover it. Right. But that's what science and everything is all about. There are no boundaries. Redefine it. It's always going to have to be redefined. And I always say this in any speech, if I'm giving to, especially the young people, don't be afraid or be held down by the rules. And, teachers hate me for it because they want to work within those boundaries. Right. It makes their job easier. But you're right. It's those people who just say, you know what? There's got to be a better way. There's got to be another way. And they just break the rule and do it. And if it weren't for those people, think of the things we would not have. We would still have a flat earth. Okay.
That's right.
This is my example. If Christopher Columbus didn't, if he listened to everybody, we would have never found that we have a round earth, but you've got to explore, you've got to go beyond, and you've got to say, why not? Right?
Exactly. And why not me? And why not me? Why
Thank
not
you? I love it. Why not me? Right.
Yes, I used to ask that question all the time when my mother used to say, well, no, you can't do that. And I'm like, well, why not? Why can I not do it? It's being done. So why can't I not do it or make it better? So I know there was a company called BASF, I think it was, and it said BASF did not create this. They made it better.
That's
So
right.
sometimes you don't have to be the founding person of it, but you take the concept and you just keep it moving forward. And that's what Levelist is all about, Kimberly. It's about removing the levels because the sky is not the limit.
Whenever you say leveless, I also think weightless, right? Get rid of all that weight around you. Leveless. There is no boundaries.
No boundaries.
You just keep going, keep expanding, keep growing. And, but don't forget the two most important things you got to have. And you said this in the beginning, purpose and passion. This is your intellectual property, right? You got to have this. So always feed this and feed this good stuff.
Yes.
And you got to have this. Without these two things, it's very difficult but you don't give up either. Be persistent. And I think that's one of my favorite speeches from Jimmy Valvano, Coach Valvano,
right.
Is don't give up. Don't ever give up. Because all too often we just throw in the towel and but it's the persistence, right? So purpose, passion, persistence, all of this leads to prosperity and security.
So with you saying that, it's going to lead me into another question. And that question is about our youth, is about our kids, is about our children. So what strategy or what would you say to the parents who are listening as far as what should we be doing that's important to help our youth today?
Well, so our youth has such big challenges that we didn't grow up with, right?
Right.
But they also have so many open doors that we did not have. And I would say allow them to grow, support them, even in things that you don't agree with, just 100%. And don't think they won't. All right. So always think they will. And I say this for a reason. A lot of people disagree with me on this, but don't think that your children won't ever try things. Take the attitude that they will and be prepared to handle it. And don't discipline them over some of these things. Okay, there's enough problems out there. Grow with them, let them learn from their own mistakes. But I think the greatest thing, and my kids not joke about it, they're very serious about it too, is I had one rule. I had a bunch of boys. So I had one rule, and it was called don't drink and drive.
Oh, that's
period.
Yeah.
I don't care. This is before Uber. When Uber came, I was thankful. But call me anytime, day or night. I'm not going to say don't drink. I'm not going to tell you what to do, because I know that there are things in life that you're going to run up to. What I'm going to say is be smart and think about these things. And that's the only thing I told him. I said, I will always stand behind you. I will always help you. Don't lie to me. And I will always help you solve your problems. Don't be ashamed if something goes wrong, but don't drink and drive. I won't pretend like you won't go out there. I would love it if you didn't.
Right.
But drink or a party or whatever. But and you know what? I never had a problem in that area. But I know so many people who did. And, because in my heart of hearts, that's just one phone call I did not want in the middle of the night or knock on the door. And so, but just always be realistic. And I think that would be the strategic in talking it out here with you.
All right.
Be realistic.
So what I'm hearing you say is, parents, now you were once a teenager and you knew some of the things that you tried and did not pay attention to your parent. So what makes you think that your child is going to do anything? Exactly. As simple as that. But the whole thing about it is that one of the things that I do with the youth, especially starting at the age of 14, is an ability assessment, Kimberly, is because there's so many of our youth. There's some who they do know, but they're naturally gifted at doing. But there's so many of them that have not yet discovered, identified, or even had their natural ability confirmed. So therefore, that's sometimes where that lack of confidence comes in at,
Right.
that lack of direction on what direction should they take for their education, for their career, for the profession, even if they should be an entrepreneur. And if they're going to be one, then what do you go into? So this assessment helps them to hone in on what are they naturally gifted at doing. I wish someone had had this for me when I was in high school. It did not exist. And so what you're saying to the parents are allow your child to explore.
That's right.
Allow them to grow. I mean, Johnny is sitting in the middle of the floor at 4 years old and you give him a car and he has torn it up. So you think, but you leave out the room and come back. Johnny has rebuilt that car. It just looks a little different. Engineer, you just didn't know it.
I did that. I did. There's a true story about that. But
I didn't even know this.
Exactly. And sometimes there's a missing bolt. That's why I always bring that up. Sometimes there's a missing bolt. But serious, you're dead on. Just let them explore and be there for them, but be realistic, But yeah, I mean, I wanted to explore and I didn't listen to everything my parents said. Did I have regrets? Yes, I did.
Of course.
Was I scared to go talk to them? I was, but my dad taught me the greatest gift as a parent. Don't punish your children for coming to you, telling you the truth. Don't. No matter how, because it was harder for them to come and tell you what happened than any punishment you could ever give them. So my dad gave me this gift as a very young child that if you come and tell me the truth, I will knock down the walls for you.
Right. Oh,
and I will support you regardless of how bad the truth is. But if you lie to me, then now I'm going to knock you through a wall. But so I never lied to my dad. I was scared to get knocked through a wall.
I know that's right.
But he was a Golden Glove boxer, so I was a little bit scared of him. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But we got to be realistic with our children and understand that they got to grow and they're going to make mistakes. And I'm going to share one more thing. Teach your children to do things in a manner that they will have less or no regrets.
Love it.
Because the kids carry around so much weight and so much fear today, and there's so much hate out there. But when you're carrying regret in your heart over something, it just keeps building and adding. And I think one of the greatest gifts I learned in life was learning how to make my decisions a little firmer without regret.
And you talked about if a parent will allow the child to do it. So I'm going to challenge the parent for the parent to do it as well. Because we can't just, teach our children to do one thing. We have to practice what we teach.
That's right.
So that's so critical that we practice what we teach. So Kimberly, you have brought forth some phenomenal platinum nuggets. I can't wait. Listen, my viewing audience, you need to key in the comment and let me know what platinum nugget are you going to take away and start doing differently that you can apply this tonight or first thing tomorrow. Because I'm a transformational type, speaker, because it's about how can you transform yourself and to become better and better and better at what it is that you're doing. So Kimberly, all right, as we start winding down, help me to understand how can one get in touch with you? How would you like for them to continue to connect with you? Because me, I'm a stalker because I'm gonna go out.
You also continue watching our shows. We're going to be migrating to Roku here real soon. Our network is podtv.tv. You're going to see we're going to be converting everything over. But reach out to Maxine. Reach out to Mark Lee. He's another way to get in contact with me. Once our website's up, our new website and everything. and you see us on Roku, but watch us. I always answer whatever questions come in on any of the TV shows that I'm on. I have no problems answering the questions. So if you're watching us, that is an open door invitation to ask us questions. I mean, seriously, I'm very easy to work with.
I agree 100%.
And Maxine, I love how you say golden nugget, but every time I talk to you, I feel like I've added a pearl to my necklace.
Oh, so, I love that, right? I
know.
That, right?
I know. I'm gonna get a string of pearls started, and every time that we meet, I'm gonna add a pearl to the string. And that's right.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Yes, we have to figure out how we're going to relabel this. We're calling it life strategies right now, but we're going to have to add pearl in there somewhere.
For your string of pearls. Yeah. People might not know this, but you know where a pearl comes from, right? The oyster. Right. And they make the oyster when sand irritates it, right?
Right.
So life is irritating. Mm-hmm. And you need those strategies to get through it. But just like the oyster, we can always make pearls.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, yes, yes.
You know,
I was asked the other day, say, what one word would describe you? And I said tenacity. Because I look at a pearl as that. You have to endure what life is throwing you. And you're right. You get that one piece of sand that's got you moving and cultivating and transforming to become who you've been created to be. And that's that jewel. And so, Kimberly, that's how I view you this evening, that jewel that you are. The gift that you've given to the world, the platinum, the inventors, the telephone, the flat rate opposed to minutes. You brought so much technology to this world. And I want to say thank you on behalf of the whole world, because many times people don't get a chance to tell other people how much we appreciate them for bringing these things forth. So if nothing else, I sense that we leave with the viewing audience. You've been given a gift. You've been given abilities. You have been given creativities and innovations. Don't sit on them.
Mm-mm. I want to share one more thing because you said something that's very important. I almost died a few years ago, and the nurse of the doctor who saved me would call me. And she says, people don't live through that. You should have died. God let you live for a reason. He's given you some gifts. Get out there and use them. Don't waste them. Everyone has a gift. It's not just me, not just you, Pearl. Everyone has it. And don't waste it. And I mean, just the other day, I heard someone say, I thought of that years ago. Da, 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 da. And I go, well, why didn't you do it? Why did you wait for me to come around to do it?
Right.
So, don't sit around and listen to Maxine. Reach out to her. If you got an idea and you want to work something out, reach out, text, ask. We'll answer. We do.
Yes. And Mark, he'll put my website up in just a second. And that way you can always reach out to me. Go to the website, use the contact form. LinkedIn. Yes, or LinkedIn. So there's so many different ways that you can connect with with the world.
Yes.
We used to say it's 6 degrees of separation, but not any longer. It's only one. And that's called the internet. So listen, I know our time is up. But it has been wonderful having you on this evening, Kimberly. And I look forward to having you on again and keeping up with you and all the great things that you're doing. And to our viewing audience, I thank you for being here, for communicating, for making comments. Bring you a big hug and a kiss your way. But in the meantime, remember, I believe in you and I trust you believe in yourself. Have a great evening.
Love you. I got to go.
Well, thank you so much for being here this evening. It has been wonderful having Kimberly a part of it. She is phenomenal. I cannot wait to have her back again. But should you know of someone that you'd like to see featured on the Life Strategy Show, reach out to me. Let me know about them or have them to connect with me. Again, I believe in you and I trust you believe in yourself. Have a good evening. I'll see you back here next week at the same time.
taking a chance.